Have you heard this poem? It's a very dynamic hymn of the past. One verse says, can you make this verse? It says, could we ink the ocean field, and where the skies of parchment made, where every stalk on earth a quill, and every man a scribe by trade, to write the love of God above would drain the ocean dry. All right. Nor could the scroll contain the whole, though stretched from sky to sky. When years of time shall pass away and earthly thrones and kingdoms fall, when men who hear refuse to pray, on rocks and hills and mountains they will call, God's love so sure shall still endure, all measureless and strong, redeeming grace to Adam's race. It's the saints and angels' song. That song is, O love of God. I'm about to get happy right now.
Yes, sir. Amen.
How rich and pure. How measureless and strong. It shall forevermore endure. It's the saints and angels' song. It's so rich, it's so full. You could not take all the ink of the ocean and fill the sky and tell it all. If you took every stalk on earth and everybody was a scribe, you still could not describe the love of God. If you tried to use the ink of the ocean would go dry. And if the whole sky was your parchment, you still could not feel the maximum of the love of God. When people don't even know what to pray about and don't even know how to pray, and every kingdom is come and gone, his love will still endure. His love is measureless. His love is strong. O love of God, how rich and pure, how measureless and strong. It shall forevermore endure. It is the saints and the angels' song. Aren't you glad for the love of God? And usually you wouldn't see it in a passage like this in Mark 9. It'll usually connect his love with this transfiguration passage. But in verse 1 of chapter 9, you see Jesus in an unnamed location. And it tells us that in verse 2, after a week, Jesus takes with him Peter, James, John. No Thomas this time. Peter, Missourians don't come to everything. Peter, James, and John. No doubters. Peter, James, and John. The only three that he led up into a what? The Bible says in verse 2 of chapter 9, he led those three into a high mountain. My high mountain. What kind of mountain? High mountain. And they were there apart by themselves, and he was transfigured before them. I don't even want to take the time, as much as I would enjoy reading the rest of this unusual episode in the life of Jesus. But we will come down to verse 7. And there was a cloud that overshadowed them. Peter, James, John, and Jesus. Of course, you got Elijah and Moses up there too. Verse 2 says, the last three words of verse 2 is, he was transfigured before them. Somebody say transfiguration. Transfiguration. They never saw Jesus like this before. They never saw this happen before. They never anticipated this. Jesus transfigured. You seldom see this word in the Bible, transfigured. We see his power, we see his miracles, we see him preaching, we see him teaching, we see him eating, we see him drinking, we see him on the boat, we see him in the storm, we see him at the wedding, we see him with children, we see him with the blind, we see him with the lepers, we see him at funerals, we see him at graveyards, we see him in court, we see him in the church, we see him in the synagogue, we see him in the sea. But we never have seen him transfigured. Somebody say transfiguration. And after all of this transfiguration, and this had occurred, verse 7 says, a cloud overshadowed them, and the voice came out of the cloud saying, this is my beloved what? Son, hear him. And suddenly when they had looked round about, they saw no man anymore, save Jesus only with themselves. And verse 9, what happened after they had this mountaintop episode? They came down from the mountain. And he told them, don't talk about this right now. Don't tell anybody what you have seen until the Son of Man is risen from the dead. Well, somebody say, we can tell it now. We can tell it now. And come to verse 14. And when he came to his disciples, he saw a great multitude about them, scribes questioning with them. 17. And one of the multitude answered and said, Master, I have brought unto you my son, who's dumb. I got a dumb son. And I brought unto you my son. Yes. He's dumb because he has a dumb spirit. And wherever he takes him, his spirit tears him, he foams, he gnashes with his teeth, pines away. I spoke to your disciples, and that they should cast this spirit out, and they could not. And I'm not going to preach all of this today. Jesus is transfigured. We would never know about this had Jesus not included these three disciples. Right. We would never know about him going up into this mountain. We would never know about this conversation with two men presumed dead, Elijah and Moses. We know Moses has died because the record is given of his death. It's an interesting conclusion to the life of Moses. Moses went up on Mount Nebo. Say Nebo. That was the last time he was seen on the planet. He was climbing Mount Nebo. And he was able from Mount Nebo, N-E-B-O, Nebo. He was able on Mount Nebo to have a view of the promised land. And he tried to negotiate one last time to go into his life's dream to make it to the promised land. And God said, no, I'll let you see it. But you disqualified yourself from entering. Can y'all hear me? So we know that Moses died, and the Lord officiated his funeral and gave the eulogy. He was the pallbearer and the flower bearer.
Yes, sir.
He did not get embalmed because his whole conclusion was in the hands of God.
Amen.
The Bible lets us know that God was even his grave digger.
Yes. Yeah.
And he was buried on the hillside of Mount Nebo.
Yes, sir.
And Moses has now been dead for over 2,000 years when this was written.
Amen.
But he appears on Mount Transfiguration. Elijah has not been seen for 1,400 years.
Yes, sir.
Now Moses died, Elijah disappeared.
Right.
He was just walking down the road one time,
Yes, sir.
and a whirlwind came.
Yes, sir.
And the whirlwind, something like a tornado, caught him up. And there was a chariot in the sky of fire. And the wheels were turning on fire. And as Elijah went up, he dropped his mantle. And as his mantle went down, he stepped into that chariot. And we haven't seen Elijah since. Until they got on this mountain. And now, 1,700 to 2,000 years later, after no sightings, they appear on a high mountain with Jesus and Peter and James and John. You may want to make a note of this on your paper, not by myself. Because this would not even be significant if Peter were not included.
All right.
And James and John. There were many at the foot of the mountain. The Bible says there was a multitude at the base of the mountain, but Peter, James, and John were led to see this incomparable episode of faith. In fact, this was not a dream. This is not a myth. This is not a legend. This is not a fairy tale. This physically, literally occurred. They went up on the mountain. Now, why is it you can believe in flying saucers, you can't believe in this?
All right.
Why is it you can believe in UFOs, you can't believe in this? Why is it you can believe in luck? And you say good luck, and if I only have any luck, and be bad luck. Why would you can believe in witches and warlocks and superstition and wishful thinking and wild imagination, and you can't believe there's a world that is real that you don't even know about?
Thank you, Jesus.
They were up there, but they were not by themselves. Can I just remind you of something, Sister Eunice? Much of what God has for you, you'll never experience it by yourself. I'm going to say that again. Much of what God has for you, you will never get it. You will never receive it. It will never be released in your life when you are all by yourself. You see, God is a God not only of power and abundance, but he's also a God of relationship. Thank you, Jesus. There's never been a time when the Father's not with the Son. Never been a time when the Son is not with the Father. Never been a time when the Spirit is not with the Father and Son. There's only one God, but relationship is a part of the nature of God. Thank you, Jesus. And that's why he said, he looked up and they heard the noise, and the voice from heaven spoke to the Son and said, "This is my beloved Son, and I'm well pleased." I mean, really, you're never going to get here without a mother and a father. Your whole existence is the result of somebody not being by Lord help me.
Yes, sir.
There's no teacher without a student. There's no student without a teacher.
All right.
Can y'all hear me? I mean, there is really no sound, physics tells us, unless there's someone to hear the tree fall. There is no sound.
All right.
There's no real music if no one hears it.
All right.
There's no business without a recipient. There is no partnership with just one person. You cannot fall in love with yourself. Quit tripping. You should like yourself, but don't fall in love with yourself. That's no imagination gone wild. There is no love without relationship. And for God's sake, don't fall in love with your dog. Have a dog. One of these days, God's going to bless me once again to get a dog. I'm not going to get no amen. I just believe. The Lord didn't show me that, but I just believe one day I'm going to get a dog. Why don't y'all say, get your dog, Pastor? Get your dog. Maybe the first day, way back. You're not designed to fall in love with your dog. Dog is a pet. Holy Spirit got to tell the whole truth. And you hear a dog like it, but I'm not a dog lover.
All right.
Amen. Now, you don't want to fall in love with your car. You don't want to fall in love with your cat. Don't fall in love with your horse. Don't fall in love with your pet pig. Don't fall in love with your roach or your rat. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Love is a relationship between soul and soul. And what God has for you is designed to be released in relationship. Henry Ford said, coming is together is a beginning. Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. But working together is success. They both have togetherness, but you start with coming and then with keeping and then with working. It is always sad when a relationship falls apart. It's always sad when a good relationship has to end. Help me, Holy Ghost. Please help me, Lord. Please help me. I'm in a hurry, Lord. Help me to get through this. It's always sad when something that has been good becomes toxic. And that's always a trick of your enemy to take a good relationship and it turns foul. Any good relationship came from, preach this, just preach this thing. Any relationship in your life that is good is a gift from God. But if you don't learn how to maintain it, even something good can rot on the vine. Jesus comes to give us healthy relationships. Say yes. Take away the selfishness. Help compensate for the shortcomings. I said Jesus comes to give us healthy relationships, to stretch us to our best self, to move us to our potential, to help us to identify our flaws, to learn not to pretend we're the center of the universe, to move from I to us and me to we, to learn to receive and share, to give and to take. And that's why Jesus took them on top of this mountain, because he wanted the relationship to take on new life. Say yes. Sometimes we see Jesus on the mountain. The mountains all through the Bible. The mountains all mean something. Everybody say mountains. There's a reason Jesus took them to this high mountain. They didn't get there by accident to the cruise. He led them. He handpicked who he wanted to be with him. And then says he led them. He was the guide, he was the scout, he was the navigator, but they had to walk themselves. He led them, but they had to climb the mountain. We all say, I got to climb the whole mountain. Yeah, don't think because he blesses you, he's going to do your part. He led them to the mountain. He chose them to be there. He had a rendezvous point, but they had to put one foot after another. Come on and say, I want everything God has for me. Can I get you just to say, and I'm ready to climb? It's up there. It's prepared. You've been selected for it. It is custom made for your life. He's going to tell you how to get there, but you have to climb. Somebody say high mountain. Mount Moriah is where Abraham was ready to sacrifice Isaac. Mount Nebo is where Moses wished to see the promised land. Mount Sinai is where God gave the law to Moses. Mount Carmel is where Elijah witnessed the fire falling from heaven. Mount Hermon is the snow-capped mountain that was the source of water for the Holy Land. Mount Tabor was the land where the tribes gathered and they celebrated the flood that took its right course and victory over their enemy, the Canaanites. Can you hear me? Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim were where the people had to decide whether they wanted to line up with the mountain of blessing or the peak of curses. Mount Zion, somebody say Zion. That's the mountain of worship where the temple was built. They would climb in sanctification to the place of spiritual elevation. Then you have all of these mountains that are mountains that each of us have an appointment with on our journey. Say yes. Moriah is the mountain of provision where the Lord said, I'll supply. Nebo is the mountain of anticipation where he was looking forward. Sinai was the mountain of communication. Carmel, the mountain of demonstration. Hermon is the mountain of infusion. Tabor is the mountain of fellowship. Ebal and Gerizim, the mountain of decision. Zion, sound elevation, but Calvary is also a mountain. On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. But I love that old cross, where the dearest and blessed, for a world of lost sinners was slain. On that mountain I will cherish that old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to that old rugged cross and exchange it one day for a crown. So let me say Mount Calvary. That's where light met darkness. That's where sin met a Savior. Calvary is where death intersected with life. Mount Calvary is where the goodness of God met the weakness of man. Mount Calvary is where God's grace collided with divine justice. Mount Calvary is where pitiful man is rescued by an all-wise God. There is no mountain like Calvary. Somebody say Calvary.